Hey, what's going on? So today's episode is brought to you by Extreme Media Group. If you need podcast studio rentals, you need photography, videography, or aerial drone footage, get a hold of them at Extreme Media Group. You will not be disappointed. As a matter of fact, this podcast is provided by Extreme Media Group.
Crazy thing is, I don't have cartilage in my right ankle.
Oh, really?
I made it to the NFL on one good leg. We was playing against UCLA in LA, and I was getting ready to run for 300 yards that day. I was ready. I was like a horse out of the barn. I was ready to get down. Made a cutback, and this 300-pound lineman landed on my right leg. You can hear it snap like a 2x4, like crack.
Oh.
And I was in so much pain. Well, anyway, the team, giving me a lot of ultrasound, putting tape on it, giving me shots of cortisone. Oh, it's just a high ankle sprain. It's nothing. So they kept shooting me up, and I finished my senior year with that injury, and it never healed up. So I went and got a second opinion. The doctor told me.
So what's going on, everybody? So on today's show, we have none other than Jerone Davison, not Davis, not Davidson, Davison. Jerone, welcome to the show, bro.
Thank you, man. I'm excited to be here, man. It's a wonderful facility, and ready to chop it up, man, and talk about the word and talk about the politics. As you know, I'm running for Congress in CD4, and we'll talk about some sports too, if you like.
Oh, I love it. So, a little bit about you is, you play pro football.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how was that?
It was wonderful. It was a dream come true. I was watching TV one time. I was 8 years old, man, and my dad was watching the game, and I was standing in front of the game. I'm 8. I got my shirt off in front of the TV. I said, "Dad, I'm going to play. I'm going to play in the NFL." And he said, "Good, son. Get out the way." So, but it's been my dream, man, to do it, man. And I worked hard. I was a high school dropout.
Nice.
My parents went through a divorce, and it rocked me emotionally and psychologically. I couldn't focus in school. I was worried about my mom, worried about my dad too, but we was the last family on our block to survive divorce. Divorce had hit our street bad.
Yeah.
And just ruined so many families. And we was the last family standing. And when my family went through a divorce, it really hurt me. So I was a star football player in high school, promising career. And then I just stopped going to class. I couldn't focus. Finished my senior year in football, which was awesome. But I ended up dropping out. And then I went to Northern California where my mother's sister was, got into a junior college, played junior college ball there, became a Hall of Famer, All-American, broke all the school rushing records, all that stuff. Ended up getting a full ride scholarship here to Arizona State.
Nice.
I was born and raised in Mississippi. I'm from a small place called Picayune, Mississippi. That's where I'm from.
Nice.
A little country place down by the Gulf Coast. And but my mother served the Lord. She's saved. My father wasn't. And she forced me to go to church. And then God had put this hook in my spirit, man, that I couldn't shake. I just couldn't shake it, man. I couldn't go out and hang out with the friends and drink and smoke and do all the stuff that teenagers do. I just had this guilt thing, man. It was just working on me. So one of the things too why I fled to California was to get away from the voice of God in Mississippi. I thought if I got away from my mother and stopped going to the church, maybe God would just leave me alone, let me live my life a little while. You
try to hide yourself with a fig leaf?
Yeah, exactly. I know. The Adam and Eve fig leaf. Yeah. So I got the scholarship and so when I got to Arizona State, I was 19 years old, fully committed to the Lord, didn't go to any parties, not one party, didn't get any tattoos, never drank, never had sex outside of marriage, just fully committed. And I've been like that now since I went to the pros and all that stuff. I got married, married for 20 years, started a church in Northern California, great church called the Harvest Family Life Center. It was growing. God had raised people up from the dead. One of the women in our church had a baby, and she died giving birth. She hemorrhaged it out.
Yeah.
And her husband was a minister in my church at the time. And she bled out, and he called me, and he said, "Hey, Pastor." I said, "So how's it going?" Oh, he said, "Everything's good." He didn't tell me the trouble that was going on. I said, "Okay, look, so I'm gonna preach the word this morning, and I'm gonna be there." It was a Sunday morning. I said, "I'm gonna be there, and I'm gonna come check y'all out." He said, "Okay." I hung up the phone, and the Holy Spirit told me, he says, "Go to the hospital." So I called one of my other ministers. I said, "Hey, you got to handle the word this morning. I got to go check on Brother Gabe." Went to the hospital. By the time I get there, he's in the hallway crying. And so when I got there, she had flatlined, and the doctors rushed me out of there. And I grabbed his hand, and I said, "In the name of Jesus, go lay hands on her and tell her to live in the name of Jesus." Well, she's alive. They said the baby wasn't going to live. The baby now just graduated high school.
Nice.
So, I mean, we've seen the hand of God operating, man. It's been wonderful.
That's the power of belief,
Amen.
Of faith, of knowing who God is.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's like your whole life. We'll keep going, but you know, just a testament to your faith and your belief in God that your mom instilled in you. Mm-hmm. You know, it got you through schools, and got you through ASU.
Yep.
You know, it's like if you know, God will open the doors for us, but our faith and our belief will allow us to go through the door.
Yes.
You know, and that's why so many people don't feel like they're rewarded for their sacrifice, giving their life to the ministry or whatever, right? Because God says, here, I'm opening the door, but they lack so much faith and belief in what God's doing in their life. And
sorry.
We're lost the GPS. You're still on directory.
Instead of asking the Holy Spirit to get me here, I had to use GPS. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Forgive me for that.
You took those opportunities, you know, and you had enough faith to say, okay, God, get me through this. You know, like you said, is Mississippi. You said you're from?
Yep.
Mississippi. You know, you said every person on the block is divorced, messed up. Probably the kids are probably going to prison. I'm going to assume so.
Yes.
That's usually the byproduct of it.
Yes.
You know, that's kind of how I grew up as well. Is like bad, drug infested. You know, I was born and raised here in Phoenix, Arizona.
Right.
And it's the same thing. Obviously I didn't go play for the Raiders like you. But that's a blessing because like that hard work, man, got you to the Raiders. Imagine how many people try to go to the pros, you know, any pro team. It's like, it's like 1 in a million. I don't even know what the odds are there. Yeah. It's a really high, you know.
And the crazy thing is, I don't have cartilage in my right ankle.
Oh, really?
I made it to the NFL on one good leg.
So were you born that way? Or
No,
you messed it up?
I hurt myself my senior year at ASU. We was playing against UCLA in LA, the UCLA Bruins, and I was getting ready to run for 300 yards that day. I was ready. I was like a horse out of the barn. I was ready to get down. Made a cutback, and this 300-pound lineman landed on my right leg. You can hear it snap like a 2x4, like crack.
Oh.
And I was in so much pain. Well, anyway, the team, you know, giving me a lot of ultrasound, putting tape on it, giving me shots of cortisone. Oh, it's just a high ankle sprain. It's nothing. So they kept shooting me up, and I finished my senior year with that injury, and it never healed up. So I went and got a second opinion. The doctor told me, said, you'll never play ball again. That's it. Your cartilage is torn. 80% of your cartilage is gone, and you have a 2-inch bone spur that every time you plantar flex like this and run or walk, that 2-inch bone spur is shooting into your nerve. That's where you're getting a lot of that pain from. And so, man, I cried like a baby. And I said, Lord, I had a covenant with you. I had a prayer to you, and I prayed to you to get to the NFL. And I said, if I got to the NFL, every time they would say my name, they would say your name. I would live for you like that. And now I get this news.
Yeah.
So I went back to the doctor.
You're like, nah.
She told me, she said, come back in 4 months. We're going to fuse your ankle together. It's over. No more football. No, you'll never play ball again. I came back 4 months later with a 49er contract in my hand. I sat it down in front of her, you know?
Yeah.
And she said, what is this? I said, I'm not getting the surgery. I said, I've been working out ever since I left here. And I went and worked out for the number 49ers. They gave me a contract.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's been the power of God. So I ended up playing 4 years in NFL like that. And I still have it. You know, it's sometimes I still play a little basketball, work out on the treadmill.
Seen you playing basketball.
Oh, you saw the little clip on that?
Good jump shot.
And look, and I had a jacket on too, you know?
Oh, man, you had the form. You had it all going on.
I was an MVP in high school, my junior year.
It's like riding a bike, huh?
Yeah, man. You know, once you get the art down, you just got the art.
Imagine how many people like get news like that. You know, you're never going to be able to do this again because of an injury or whatever it is, right? And they believe it.
Yes.
Oh
absolutely.
My gosh, it's like it wrecks people. You know, just the news from some outsider that doesn't have the same source that you have.
Right.
You know, I remember my father-in-law. He's my pastor, my wife's dad, and he had torn his shoulder I mean, like ripped it all up, all the ligaments and everything that were curling and all that stuff.
Wow.
Just tore it all up, right? And he was going through it for like a couple of years, trying to get surgery after surgery, and they're like, "Hey, you're done." Mm-hmm. He could barely lift it up and stuff, and you know, they basically said, "Hey, just go get disability," and you know, and everybody was like, "No," and then he was like, "I'm not getting it. I'm not gonna, you know, you're not gonna label me as disabled." Mm-hmm. You know,
right.
Obviously it's free money from the government.
Yeah, but that's not enough.
The label
right.
itself is detrimental.
Right.
Because that label, if you take on a label of something that doesn't belong to you, mm-hmm. it'll kill you.
Yes, that's exactly right. So and it limits you and it puts your life in a box. And all of your hopes and dreams and aspirations and the goals that you had for yourself, you set those goals. Whether you set them out loud or you just set them mentally and you had a covenant with your own heart. If you don't live those covenant goals and dreams you have, you live a life of misery. Just, hey, I didn't make the Patrick Mahomes money. I didn't get a $500 million contract.
It's all right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I would have loved it, man.
They weren't handing them out like that.
I know they weren't doing it back in the day, and we was hitting harder.
Yeah.
I was a fullback in the NFL, man. That means I had to hit people like Ray Lewis every down.
Yeah.
And so I didn't get the big contract, but here's what I got. I got God's word fulfilled in my life, and I fulfilled a dream that I had with my father who passed away. When I remember standing in front of that TV as an 8-year-old with my shirt off in my Hulk underwear, talking about I was this big strong guy, and I told Dad, "I'm going to play in the NFL, Dad." I got that memory. I fulfilled that, and so that I could live with that and sleep with that and enjoy that memory, and watch God bring it to pass. And I tell you what, man. First Monday night game I came out, I was the starting fullback for the Oakland Raiders.
Nice.
1996 against the Kansas City Chiefs. Wow, what a thing. The crowd going crazy, and they called my name, and I'm running out through the beautiful cheerleaders and all this stuff. All the stuff that I foresaw. Now, if I'd given up and listened to that doctor, I would have never had that dream fulfilled. Mm. And here's what happened. Al Davis made me the team chaplain for the team. I was a player and a team chaplain. I taught the Bible studies. Al Davis taught in my Bible studies, and all of my teammates, the medical staff, everybody heard me teach the Word of God. And Napoleon Kaufman, number 26, is one of the best running backs there. He was a small guy out of the University of Washington. Tim Brown, I counseled Tim Brown before he married his wife. And because he wanted to ask me about, should he marry her? And I talked it through, took him through the Word. And so many of them looked to me, man, for spiritual guidance. And Napoleon Kaufman is now pastoring a major church in Dublin, California. He's got like about 3,000 members.
Yeah, and
I trained him in the Word.
Yeah, I think if God gives us something and puts inside of us, it's up to us to activate it and utilize those tools. Right. He takes us to where we're going. And sometimes it doesn't look as pretty as other people's lives.
Right.
But he gives us all our own testimony. That way we can brag about him and what we've come through, where we're going. Yeah. I was watching you, and I mean, you're pro football player. Now, after football, you get into pastoring. Mm-hmm. Not now, but I'm just backtracking.
Yeah.
How did you, you're teaching the Word, you're learning it, you learn it from your mom, you're learning more of the Word, you're teaching more of the Word as you're living your life. What led you to go and say, okay, I want to be a pastor? Because pastoring is hard.
It is.
I'm not a full-time pastor. My father-in-law, like you said, my father-in-law lives one. I watched how, that's a hard job because you think people love you, they leave you. There's a lot of emotions involved. How did you get into that? Tell that.
I think I got saved at 17. I got saved. I got filled with the Holy Ghost at 19 in my dormitory at ASU. But from the time I was 8 years old, I knew God was calling me to preach to the ministry. 8 years old. The churches I would walk to church. My parents would never drive me. Yeah, on Sunday mornings, my father would get up in the morning and listen to Bobby Womack. If you think you're lonely now, this is on Sunday morning. My mother wasn't in church at the time, and I just had this thing about I love to see preachers preach, and I love the choirs, and so I would walk to church.
Yeah, that soul in you.
It was just in me, man.
Yeah.
Well, I veered away from that, being a kid, high school, college, high school, and all that different stuff, and but at 17, I got into a car accident. But prior to the car accident, my mother, she was in the church by this time, and she went to church. She left our Baptist church, started going to this Pentecostal church, and they believe in the gifts of the charismatic gifts, the healing gifts, the speaking in tongues, the dancing, the prophecy, all these things. We didn't see it in the Baptist church. All we had was good singing and dressing well, you know. Yeah. but in the Pentecostal church, they was dressing. So anyway, she came home one night after me and my brother, we was out there drinking and doing our little teenage stuff. And she came home and she called everybody in the living room and she was crying. She said, "This prophet told me that somebody in my family is going to get in a tragic car accident and I want y'all to be okay. But he told me, he said that the Lord said that the person that's going to get in this car accident is really close to me and that this person is going to end up preaching." And I said, "Oh man, my dad was a truck driver. He owned trucks, so he's always driving. Right?" So I said, "Oh man," I said, "Mom, we got to pray for Dad," you know? Well, it turned out to be me.
Yeah.
One night after a high school football game, a friend of mine, his father just bought him a brand new 5.0. You remember those 5.0s back in the 80s?
Yeah, the Mustangs.
Beautiful cars. Mustangs, nice, hatchback, all this stuff. So I was in the back seat. I had a girl with me, he had a girl with him, and we had a case of Budweiser beer. Police got behind us because he was driving crazy. He turned his lights off and went into this dark alley and was just going crazy. Next thing I know, the car is flipping.
Oh, wow.
It's flipping in slow motion. This is God's honest truth. Everybody else was thrown out of the car. They didn't have a scratch. We was doing about 65 in the dark. I mean, in Mississippi, there's no street. It's dark, like black, like pitch black, stuff, like this wall here. It's like driving through that. So I said, "Hey, man, you know, the police ain't behind us. You got to slow down." Next thing, after I said that, boom, cars flipping. So all I could see is the stars when I went up. Came back down, head hit the car, boom. Go up again, I see the stars come back down. On the third time, I remember the prophetic word. And I said, boom, when I got up out of that accident, I said, "Look at what God did." So I ended up getting a bunch of glass in my head, having this injury with my finger here because all the glass, it was just, I went through that hatchback. But some kind of way, man, God led me to preaching. And like I said, they made me the team chaplain. I was doing the Bible studies for the 49ers with Ricky Waters and all those different ones over there. And I just, and I love pastoring. I love people. God gave me a lot of gifts, man. A lot of gifts. Gifts of teaching, gifts of singing, gift of mercy and patience and just giving knowledge in the word, man. My mom bought me a Bible at 15 years old. The best gift she ever bought me. My father gave us motorcycles and go-karts and all that fun stuff. But the best gift I ever got was that Bible, a blue Bible with my name on inscribed on the top, with my name on it for my 15th birthday.
The living word.
Yep, and I started reading the Bible, and it gave me a headache because I was trying to understand the thou shouts and thou and he begot he and he got that, and I was like, man, this is so frustrating. So I closed the Bible.
King James version.
Yeah, King James, but that's the one with the teeth. I love it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, man. So I started pastoring. I started me and my children, my wife at the time, we started, doing community events, doing Bible study and prayer in the house, and the church grew. We grew up to over 300 members, and that's when my marriage suffered a divorce because my ex-wife got into a little stuff outside of the marriage, met a couple of gospel singers, and so I loved her, I forgave her, but I couldn't trust her again.
Yeah.
And I hated that for my children because I didn't want them to experience what I went through. Because, like I was saying in the first part of this, I really had a hard time focusing again after my parents went through the divorce. I never, ever had a divorce. I traveled the world and saw a lot of beautiful women, very sexy. But I just never wanted to order my life in that way. I was never even tempted, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't drink or smoke or go to clubs and do the booty shaking and making it rain on none of it. I make it rain on my children.
I think, when God partners us up with our spouses is, both spouses have to take that very much serious.
Yes.
Because it's like, for me, I'm in my second marriage, but my first marriage was, she's a drug addict. I was a drug addict too, right? And so she was a drug addict, and I changed my life, got a divorce, and then God puts me with a pastor's daughter.
Wow.
Complete opposite.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean,
and a lot of stuff comes with that drug life.
What do you mean? Everything comes with that.
Yeah,
drug
that's
life.
what I'm saying. There's so much stuff coming.
You get all kinds of spirits. Like I'm still jacked up.
You don't look like it. You don't look.
No,
like
I'm jacked up, bro. Sometimes I'm 5150. I have to work on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have to work on being good. I have to work on being saved.
Mm-hmm.
Like continue to being saved.
Right.
I don't have urges to go cheat and
Right,
lie
right.
and stuff, but I have to know what's right and wrong.
Amen.
You
Yeah.
know, and I know what's forward. And I was telling I did a little message yesterday, like a little Bible study at church, Wednesday refuel service, and I was talking about hurt and healing, and you know, and I was telling the stories of like overcoming, but you know, it's a testament, you know, to like when God gives us. He gave me my wife, right? And yeah, so if you honor that, and she honors me, God will honor our marriage.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, that's almost in any relationship.
Absolutely.
You know,
Paul talked about it. He talked about how that God made the man head. Who's the head over the man? Christ. Who's the head over Christ? God. Who's the head over the woman? The man. And then the children. That order.
yeah.
Because when he said this, that was in the book of Ephesians. He said that because he said that this is the order that God gave us because of the fallen angels. When we're going to battle against wicked spirits, they love to create disorder and disobedience and rebellion. And with rebellion comes the curse. And when you have children rebelling against their parents, I fear for children who don't respect and honor their parents. I fear for them. There's an image that's in my mind.
Pull up a scripture.
Okay,
Yeah, like, keep talking.
There's an image in my mind. There was 3 young women in Florida. This is probably 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. They stole a car. These are 3 black girls, right?
Yeah,
Teenagers.
yeah.
These girls were beautiful young ladies, right? I know they didn't think that this was going to be the final night of their life. They jumped into a car for joyriding and everything, right? And the car, whoever was driving the car didn't know how to drive well, ended up driving that car into a swamp, an alligator-infested swamp water. And the police couldn't get them out, and they couldn't, because the car was in the water, the battery, they couldn't let the windows down. So they trapped into this car. And I said to myself, that is the reward of rebellion. And so I warn all of you children out there, I know you want to have a good time, you're teenagers and you got friends and all that stuff, but if you have parents that are warning you of certain behaviors and they want you to settle down, please listen to your parents, because
the Bible says honor your parents.
Honor your parents. You have a scripture there.
So this scripture is for parents disciplining their kids. We're talking about discipline.
Uh-huh.
And because you said it, I sent this to somebody that don't discipline their kids. But I'm going to read the harsh version of it. It's the NIV version. And this is...
Give me the one with the teeth. I need you to go to King James. Go.
Too much. I'll go to King James first. So Proverbs 19:18, NIV. Discipline your children, for in that there is hope. Do not be willing to party to their death. As a parent, the lack of discipline, and if something happens,
yes, you have helped them in their death.
that's what it's saying.
That's
okay,
right.
here's your teeth one, King James version. Chasten thy son while there is hope, and let not thy soul spare for his crying.
Yeah.
So like as a parent, the discipline, as kids, you got to honor your parents.
Right.
Plain and simple. Like if you don't honor your parents, I didn't have parents. Like I was given up right before I turned 8. My mom was a drug addict. My dad was never in my life. I was raised by step parents. They didn't even legally adopt
Did you ever
me.
see your dad? You met your dad?
So I had I'll tell you a little quick story. So my mom, she gave me up. I was kidnapped. She my sister's dad kidnapped me to save me,
Okay.
and my mom didn't fight for me.
Okay, got it.
She gave me up.
Right.
But like 2 years later after that, I started seeing her, and then I would go take the bus, and I was just a little troublemaker.
Okay.
I used to do drugs with my mom. Very bad. I'm not bragging.
I've never heard of that.
But and I tell the story, it's not about bragging about doing drugs. It's
Right.
about how jacked up.
It's where God brought you from.
Yeah, how jacked up I was, she was, everybody was, right? And my dad, I knew I had this dad, and people would, like, some family members would talk about him and stuff like that, like they knew him and stuff, and I seen him one time, and then but when I was 25, I was watching Joel Osteen, and I was maybe I was 24, 25. I wanted to get my divorce, right? I had cleaned up already, and I'm looking at the church channels,
Yeah.
TBN, all that stuff. And Joel Osteen's right there. I go through all of them. I see like, and I'm not being disrespectful, but a bunch of old white preachers. You know, that's all there was.
Yeah.
15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, you had a lot of the white evangels.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't like this. It's too boring. I see this young Joel Osteen, you know, he's he's gotten a lot of slack and all this stuff.
This is my Bible.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, I like this guy. Right. And so at that, I'm watching that sermon. I give myself to God, and he looks at the TV, at his camera, and I feel like he's talking to me. He's like, and you out there, you got someone to forgive. And whether it's your parent, your mother, your father, okay? My mom had been dead already for about 4 or 5 years.
Oh, wow.
So she died when I was 20, right when I turned 20. And I hadn't seen my dad. I didn't know my dad, my biological dad. And so I give myself to God, and I instantly said, you know what, Mom? Because I hated her after she died. Because, like, you just died. You gave me up, then you die. Like, what's up with that? Right? So I go, Mom, I forgive you. And then I go, Dad, I knew his first name. He's been passed away 5 years now. And so I'll be 44. So I had about 15 years with him. And I go, his name is Sheldon. And that's all I knew. I didn't know his last name or nothing. Shelly, I forgive you. What, you know, I don't know what's going on, but I forgive you.
Did you have the conversation with him, or was like you just, or it was just in your heart?
No, it was in my heart because I had quit doing drugs. I knew I wanted something better. I had 3 kids at the time. I wanted something better. Yeah. And so this is, Jerone, this is like a true story, is I give myself to God watching TV. I forgive my parents watching TV, my biological parents watching TV. Within a few months, my dad finds me.
Huh.
My biological dad, he finds me. He found my sister, actually. He didn't know my last name. Okay. And I have my mom's last name. And he found my sister. And then next, you know, within 6 months, it was Christmas. He comes to my house, you know, and I meet him.
Wow.
And then I look at him, and then we're talking. He's telling me what he's doing. He was successful. And I'm like, well, this is why I think that way. This is why I am who I'm looking at him. And, you know, he's Russian, Romanian. I'll show you a picture of him afterwards. But that's what God did, is like, I was willing to make the effort, change my life, give myself to God, and make a commitment. And boom, instantly. And when I met him, my life changed forever.
Wow.
I mean, I've had all these different miracles and stuff, but as soon as when I get myself to God, my life changed forever.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But the benefactor was, God said, here's your dad. You know?
Restoration.
The whole thing, man. We had a really good relationship till he died. He died of cancer. You know, he taught me about business. He taught me all kinds of stuff. And he wasn't a dad to me.
He was more of a business, like he
was like
mentor.
A friend, a mentor. Yeah, because he wasn't my dad. I didn't I never called him that. I loved him so much. When he was dying, I would go to California every weekend.
Your kids meet him?
Yeah, with pictures. Yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So you know, it's like the power of forgiveness, the power of God's favor on our lives. I think we all have God's favor on our lives, right? Yeah. So, and I think you're going to go into favor. You know, let's talk about, you know, what you're doing in the politics. Like, you know, you're running for U.S. Congress. What is it, District 4? I'm going to say this right. Am I saying
you're right,
it
you're right. You're right on it. Yeah. At least you're not calling me the mayor.
I think you're going to be the mayor.
Yeah, he called me the mayor.
No.
That's next.
That's next.
Yes.
The next step. I always tell people you got to start in block watch first. You know, now you know as an adult, you know, grown adult, how'd you get into politics, man? Because people ask me all the time, Chris, are you going to get into politics? Because I always follow everything. I'm a Trumper. You know, I'm a MAGA guy. I'm guns.
You see what I got on my chest?
What do you got?
That's Trump.
Oh, that's Trump.
This is my dude right here.
Yeah. And so what led you into politics?
Well, people don't realize this. Politics are run our daily lives. Politics set the way life is ran in any nation. There's no way you're going to get out of politics. And some of these Christians think that you're just going to, oh, nope, I'm voting for Jesus. I'm not voting for no Trump. I'm not voting for Biden. I'm voting for Jesus. I said, you think that sounds deep, but it's really stupid. Because God elected Christ, and he never asked you for your opinion. God gave him a name that is above every name, and he never asked a man to vote for him or ask you if he's good enough for you or not. Jesus is going to be King of Kings and Lord of Lords with or without your vote. But since you live in a physical world, and there's first natural, then spiritual, then every Christian should be involved in policy making.
Yeah.
Because when Jesus Christ comes back to the world in the millennial reign, this is going to be still a physical world with operations just like we're doing now. And he's going to need people who know how to run operations.
Yeah.
So to get involved in politics for me was when Obama had his first term in office, and I saw this dude begin to wreck. I'm thinking he's going to come in and do good for the black community and do good for families and do good for America and unite America and get rid of all this. Oh, America's so racist, so racist. You just elected a black guy.
Yeah.
He should have ended all that. But he didn't. He just made matters worse.
Well, he didn't take care of anybody.
And he started doing this gender bending, the twisting stuff, men and LGBT and all this stuff. Oh, brother, I started preaching. I was preaching. I couldn't wait to preach on Sunday morning and preach against this guy.
Yeah.
But all the black people could see is nothing but skin color.
Yeah.
But I saw past that. I saw a serpent born. When President Donald Trump came along, I enjoyed him. And I've been supporting him from the jump.
Yeah, me too.
Because his message is about America. You know, when Jesus first met Philip or Nathaniel, he said, you are a true Israelite indeed. You are a true patriot for your country. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with being patriotic. There's nothing wrong with loving your country. Every nation and every country has had its problems and issues. There's no perfect country in this world. And here's the thing. Heaven wasn't even perfect because there was a war up there because of a serpent named Lucifer. Who became Satan. And there was a war in heaven. So heaven wasn't even perfect.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a perfect country, don't go to heaven and don't just leave this earth and leave the atmosphere. So America's had some problems and had some things, but it's a wonderful country. And so I've been fighting for it. We want to get back to prospering people's lives, to stop focusing on foreign wars, stop sending our money over there and focus on our citizens. We have veterans and people on the street. We have families that are struggling. They can't pay for food. We have people coming across this border and they're taking priority with these people whose parents, like your parents and my parents, have never paid a dime, and never done anything to help this country, but yet they're taking care of them and they're doing it only for votes. They're doing it for power.
Yeah.
And so I started getting involved because I was really concerned about freedom of speech. I'm a preacher. Yeah. I love preaching the word, brother. I love it.
Wasn't it?
Jesus!
Wasn't it scary going through COVID when you couldn't preach? And talk?
You couldn't preach, and then they was telling the churches this is what they had the nerve to say: don't sing hallelujah loud.
Yeah,
that's what they told the churches.
Yeah,
we're gonna let y'all in there 50 at a time, and you're deemed as an unnecessary. All these other stores and stuff that we let open, all these liberal places that are bowing to the liberal mindset. Amazon, Walmart, all these McDonald's, all of these companies, they can stay open because they're essential.
Yeah.
What they did that was a major wealth transfer in this country. The wealthy became wealthier and the broke became broker.
Yeah.
And the mom and pop businesses undergird the American economy. This is what a lot of people don't know.
Crushed.
It was small businesses, people who have their small businesses and employ 2 or 3 employers. That keeps this country going. And that was an all-out attack on them as well. You know, because they couldn't do it anymore. They couldn't keep it going. He was forcing them to close the doors. So they didn't have the money to do it, and they wanted to do that. They wanted to choke out that life. So that now, instead of looking to God and looking to your bank account and looking to your guns and looking to your business, now I'm forcing you to look to the government for a PPP loan. I'm looking for you to look for me now for some food stamps and aid and all that stuff. We don't want to depend on the government. We don't want government handouts. We want the government to get out of the way.
Yeah.
Okay, make sure the American dollar is strong. Make sure our border is secure. Make sure that we're in good relations around the world, and the rest of it, you leave it up to the states and the individuals. That's what government is about.
Do you think that it's a strategic move, and I could be totally wrong, but I think it's a democratic move to suppress, like you're talking about. I grew up poor and all that stuff, and I tell a story of family members that stayed 3 generations in welfare systems and stuff like that. And is that a strategic move to suppress? And I think besides that question also, do you think the new move was that suppression move got old and that's why they opened the border? Mm-hmm. That's the new move.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
President Lyndon B. Johnson took civil rights that was written by Abraham Lincoln and the Republicans. And they gave black people freedom to be citizens. They gave the women rights to votes and all that to vote. And so he took that civil rights thing and added welfare to it. And once he said that, he said, I'm going to have these niggers voting Democrat now for the next 200 years.
Yeah.
And so the trick was he said, now we're getting ready to destroy their families. This is all written down.
Yeah.
It was a plan. So you divide them, say, if you want to get this welfare, you can't have a man in the house. So they put the man out on the streets. What's on the streets waiting for him? Guns and drugs.
Yeah.
And then once you get your hands on the guns and drugs, the next plan was the 94 crime bill. Mm-hmm. Oh, now we're going to lock you up. If you have one little piece of crack pipe like this, that's 20 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Then you had the Clintons that was in there, and they were selling the black people's blood. Look it up. It was called the Clinton Blood Dynasty. They were selling, this is around the time when AIDS was really bad around the world. And they were selling this bad blood from these black inmates who were gay and,
You're talking like real blood?
Yeah, this is blood. This is blood. There was the need for blood around the world, heavy. And the Clintons, when they were governors down in Arkansas, they was mingling into the prison system. They was getting all these black guys to go to prison for crack, smoking crack. Mm-hmm. And they put them in prison, make them work, and then sell their blood around the world.
That's crazy.
It was a new modern day slave system.
I remember I met this young man, this is probably 10 years ago. And I want to say he was from Pittsburgh. I could be saying the wrong city.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
But maybe it's not Pittsburgh. I'm probably saying the wrong city. It's a black city. Mm-hmm. And he said, Chris, this guy went to the military. He changed his whole life, went to the military as a 30-year-old.
Yeah.
And he goes, Chris, you don't understand. And in my city, they don't build schools. They know the statistics. They build prisons.
That's wise. That is exactly true. It's the truth.
Because they already know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because it's created.
I'm so appalled when I watch these Democrats, what they do. So now what they're doing with the blacks and with the Hispanics, they say, we're not going to ask them to have the same qualifications and requirements to graduate from high school like the white kids, because for some reason they can't reach that mark. So they won't have to take a test. The white kids have to take a test. You know what that does? That is the worst. That is hate. Because what can they do? How can they get a job? How do they even know how to fill out an application?
Yeah, they're not going to learn nothing.
So they say, hey, listen, we understand. We love you, see. We're the ones, we're not going to make you do a test or nothing like that. We're just going to put you out in society. Put you out in society. Go out there. Understand, CTE, because you're black, those white people out in society are not going to give you a job. So you got to do what you got to do to survive. So you send them out there with that mindset. It's like, nobody likes me anyway, so I might as well be a robber or a killer and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They don't feel hope. But at least a part of my life, I grew up with my father. My father gave me my identity. That's one of the great things about fatherhood. It's the word father, Abba, to give identity to. It's the beginner of a clan. Mm. The fallen angels, they wanted to do that. They wanted to father a clan before they came down in Genesis chapter 6 and did what they did with the women. But, that God destroyed their offspring too. But it's fathering a clan and giving identity to your children. And that's why I never had children. All of my children are by one woman. I didn't want to be one of these baby daddies and all that silly stuff, because every child deserves to have identity poured into them from their fathers, mm-hmm. to show them who they are and who they came from. And your words, the roar and the rumble of your voice, you see, that helps them with an identity. It helps them have confidence. It shows them who they are. And they're not going out into the world selling their bodies, looking for drugs and all this kind of stuff, looking for an identity. Most kids, they have a father and a mother in their lives. They have this security about themselves, and they're not looking for identity. So they don't go out there and live their 20s and their 30s looking for themselves and trying to find their identity. You already know who you are.
Yeah.
Now show the world who I am. Go show them who we are. I'm a Davison. I'm show the world my father is Johnny Davison. He was a great man. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, so as you're in politics and you're loud, right?
Yeah.
So you get a lot of kickback from the African American, the black community?
I did.
You did, or you?
I was a coon, a sellout, a bootlicker. all that old silly stuff, man. I said, let me tell y'all something, man. Y'all got to get some new names, man.
Yeah. Those are old names.
New names. Listen,
those are 30, 40-year-old names.
Yeah, it's like, stop all that silly stuff, man. Get something new. Read a book.
Yeah.
If you're gonna come at me with some cracks, and you're gonna hurt my feelings, you gotta spice it up a little bit. I've heard all this coon stuff and all that stuff, and Uncle Sam and Uncle Tom and all that stuff. Well, here's the deal. I'm a child of God first.
Yeah.
And I know that this is a spiritual battle, and this fight that we're fighting is a brawl for souls. Joe Biden said it all the time. We're fighting for the soul of America. These Satan worshiping pedophiles mean exactly what they're saying. They're after the soul of America. And once they get your soul, they're not going to let you go. President Donald Trump isn't a priest or a prophet or a pastor or none of that stuff. But people are upset with him because he said he wanted to touch a woman's private part. And I said, well, at least he wanted to touch a woman. You guys want a man to touch another man. This is perverted. Your lifestyle that you're pushing and peddling is not only against God, but it's against humanity.
It's crazy.
It's against the repopularization of humanity. That's a curse against mankind.
Listen. If it's only one reason to vote for Trump, a Republican president, it would be the gender stuff.
Yes.
Like if there's only one reason, not even the border,
right?
The gender stuff.
Yeah, I know, man. It's insanity. But it's all about, what is it about? A depopulation program. Every platform the Democrats have, whether it's abortion, whether it's mutilating the children at 8 years old without the parental, or it's same sex, all three of them can never reproduce.
I was telling a young man yesterday at church. I said, listen, we're talking about India and stuff, and I said India is going to pass China here shortly.
Yeah.
With population, he goes, well, what's going on with America? I go, well, the birth rate per family is going down lower and lower and lower.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in 1 point something. We're barely higher than China right now.
That's the danger zone.
And that's what they want, because the less people, the more easier to control.
That's right. That's right.
It's all a control thing.
Well, here's the deal. I don't know if you saw Chuck Schumer about a year ago. He said, well, we got to bring these people in because our birth rates are low, dangerously low. Well, I believe the COVID shot had something to do with that. And with the research is proving that those shots attack a woman's ovaries, and it attacks the man's testicular system. So that's why you see the numbers like they are, and you can track it, time wise. Go back to the birth rate before COVID shots, before the mandated shots, and then let me say something with the mandated. It was unconstitutional. Our bodies are our sovereign. This is mine. I have the sovereign right to say what comes into this body. The government can't force me to do that.
Yeah.
What we witnessed in this country was fascism, the government working with corporations to force people into what they wanted them to do. So they forced them to get the shot. They forced people to get their shot. If I'm going to stay in the military, I have to get this shot. I don't know what this stuff is doing.
If you're working a job.
If you're an airline pilot. I mean, all these companies was forced and it was coerced, and stuff didn't even work. Biden is still getting COVID. And he got all the shots.
I don't know if he's got COVID right now.
Yeah, I think it's a way out. It's being used right.
Yeah, it's a way out.
So I had to get involved in politics because I believe in free speech. I believe that these platforms on social media are being used by the left. We saw when Elon Musk purchased Twitter, we found out that the FBI was deeply embedded into the Twitter program.
Yeah, the Twitter files.
So, brother, I ended up dropping the greatest political ad ever, called "Make Rifles Great Again."
I wanted to. I was gonna head into that. Hey, do we have that, Antonio? Do you have that video?
We're chopping it up really good here, man. I'm enjoying this.
So there's a video on this. I want to play it real quick, if you don't mind.
That's my website, and we'll talk about my Internet Bill of Rights. But so that's all of that is in there.
So
that's me right there teaching the Bible. So you see them players around me?
Yeah, in the bottom. Yeah. So make rifles great again. I love guns. I have a felony, and then I got it when I was 19.
Yeah.
Stupid. And so I got my rights back, civil rights, gun rights. I got everything, right?
Awesome.
And I started buying guns. I go shooting, recreational, just whatever. Yeah.
I was just out at the range, man.
I know.
I haven't been to the range in a long time, brother.
We're gonna have to
I don't know if you saw the thing where I was shooting on, I was all over the place, man.
That's all right.
I was still hitting kind of close to center mass, but it's been a while.
I think everybody should learn how to use a gun.
Churches should be teaching that.
I think you should get a CCW. I think you should have a license, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I say this, because some people don't care about the license,
Right.
is because you can be trained.
You need training.
Yeah, the training. You know,
Right.
you learn how to shoot it, how to hold it,
How to hold it, how to load it, how to clean it.
all that stuff, right? And that's important because if you learn how to manage it, you learn the dangers of it.
Exactly.
So you become a responsible
That's right.
user. You know.
Right.
So you made this video. Where's the
Right.
video at? You have it ready? I want to look at it real quick.
30 seconds of power. 30 seconds of truth.
Are we playing it? Yeah. So
Democrats like to say that no one needs an AR.
you're showing the KKK, not the KKK, but what looks to be the KKK.
But with this rifle, it's the only thing standing between your family.
What kind of rifle is that?
It's an AR.
AR.
You just might need that semi-automatic.
And all 30 rounds.
So you got a lot of heat for this.
I did.
Tell
me what a lie at.
Yeah. What was the thought process behind making this video? I'm okay with the video. What was the thought process behind it, and what was the heat you got from it?
Well, the thought process was twofold.
Yeah.
I wanted to, because the Democrats are always trying to say that they're the ones that are for minorities. They're not.
Oh, we know that.
But the young generation, your children and their children don't know that.
No, my children know that.
Okay, well, I'm talking about like
normal people. Yeah, because
Yeah.
they don't know if they're a boy or girl today.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, they're trying to figure out their gender.
Well, see, man, I believe it was time to do it because the Democrats are always out here like they're the saviors of the minorities. I wanted to show the true history of the KKK and racism in this country. I believe I did it in that. Secondly, I wanted to show that we do have a right and the power of the Second Amendment. We need that.
We need it.
And they say that there's no one needs an AR-15. Well, we do need that. If I wanted to own a cannon, I can own a cannon. I have a right to own that. I can own that. If I wanted to own a laser as a weapon, I can do that in this country. But you have to be responsible with that.
Yeah.
But so I just wanted to talk about that because around the time that I dropped that ad, they had that school shooting in Texas. And they started talking about taking the guns. And I told my team, now let's do it. Let's do it. It's going to get us some attention. And I needed the attention. Nobody knew who I was. But when you look on my website, you see the issues that I'm all about. Freedom of speech on social media, school choice for kids, focusing on America first, all wonderful policies that is just great. So the heat that I got was from black people that didn't know there was the Democrats. And then they say that the party switched. I said, listen, you show me any documentation, any government documentation that the Republicans switch with the Democrats at any time. So here it is. The Democrats fought to keep us enslaved. We fought the Civil War for slavery, from freedom from slavery against the Democrats.
Yeah.
So, and then after that, they came with the KKK. Then after that, they came with the Jim Crow segregation laws. So, but before that, it was the Republicans who freed the slaves. It was the Republicans who was willing to give the 40 acres and a mule, right? And as soon as that happened, they killed Lincoln because they didn't want the black people to get the 40 acres and a mule. They brought in Andrew Johnson, and Andrew Johnson, the Democrats, shut that down. And President Donald Trump was getting ready to do the same thing. He was getting ready to put some money into our communities. It was called the Platinum Plan. He was going to bring in jobs, school systems, low-income school grants, all types of stuff that was going to favor out the low-income communities. And they stole the elections from that man. They stole it. I watched it.
Yeah.
And they admitted that they did it in the Newsweek February 21st, February 21, 2021. They admitted that they stole it from him. So people say, well, you're a conspiracy theorist. At least I'm thinking for myself. Okay, I'm not listening to the mainstream media with CNN and all these sexually perverted people. You're listening to these people who are sexually perverted, who are getting paid millions of dollars to propagandize your mind.
Yeah. They're all saying the same thing.
They all say, how do they all say
They
the
got
same
the same
thing?
dialogue.
And they're evil. I believe that the media is the false prophet. And that's why I call them the false prophet media.
Yeah. Yeah. So make rifles great again. I like that. I use that on your hashtags, everything.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're going into U.S. Congress. What would that job entail? Like, where does that put you? Is that something, because you're out of Mesa, District 4 out of Mesa, right?
Yeah, Tempe, Mesa, Ahwatukee, Chandler.
And so what is U.S. Congress? What does that do?
U.S. Congress, we write laws that that govern states. We hold people like the FBI and all the government agencies. We hold them accountable. They are responsible to Congress. We hold presidents responsible. We hold them accountable. Our job is also to teach the public and to let them be aware of where the country is going. We finance states. We write the finances and approve money to go to states. We also can approve war, and we can approve what type of money is being printed, how much money is being printed, and stuff like that. And so Joe Biden was recently trying to go over to digital currency. Mm-hmm. And he tried to do that without the aid of Congress, and they stopped him, because what they was going to do, if we went over to central bank and digital currency, that would have been that would have been the mark of the beast type of thing.
Yeah, they took everything.
Yeah, that's right. And so, listen, Chris, you had too much steak. You had too much, because beef is a problem, and farting cows is hurting the air quality. And so we have to cut your money off. We're going to cut you off for 2 weeks. You can't go anywhere. Oh, you've been using too much gas. Why'd you buy so much gas? We're cutting you off. Mm-hmm. That's what they want.
Yeah, that's control.
This is Democrats. You never see Republicans doing that.
No.
The Democrats is a terrorist organization, and I want to expose them for doing such. But also, you know, Congress, we have oversight.
So will you be working out of Arizona, or will you be going back and forth to the White House, or how does that work?
Yeah, D.C.
Yeah.
D.C. is where I would love it. I would love to see representatives working from their states instead of having to go to D.C. I don't like that idea.
So if you won, would you have to live in D.C.?
Yeah, I would have to be there for like 6 months. But what I promised my constituents is this. I promised them this every year, because I believe money is destroying, it's corrupting everybody. Every year I give them I'm giving them 4 promises. Every year I'm going to show them my tax returns, but because I want them to know I'm not receiving filthy lobby money from big pharma, big tech, all these people that are helping them write laws to hurt us and take away our freedom. Yeah. So I'm going to show them my tax returns voluntarily. I'm not going to sign any bills or anything without consulting my constituents in my district. So before a big bill is signed, I'm going to call back to my 5 LD chairs and say, let's have a meeting. What's the people saying? So their voices are represented in Washington. Yeah. I'm going to recruit. I'm going to come back and recruit in the district, and then I'm going to fundraise for each one of my LDs. So it's 5 LDs in there. They need coffers, because once I recruit these young people and get them into our Republican Party, we need to now take them on field trips, have nice facilities, updated technology, and all this stuff that's going to keep them entertained and geared in. If you bring them into these old type facilities, it's just a whole bunch of old folks sitting around. Yeah. It's boring.
It's boring.
You have to take them on field trips. You know, get some T-shirts.
What's an LD?
It's a local district.
Okay.
Yeah, a local district. So there's 5 local districts, 13, 12, 10, 8, and 9. And so this is where they all go to meet, and the precinct committeemen go there, and they're the ones that's out knocking doors.
Now, you're talking across the state or just in East Valley?
Just in my district.
Yeah, okay, so there's 5 local districts
in my district, in CD5.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to be going against a guy named Greg Stanton. He was the former mayor of Phoenix.
Yeah, the name sounds familiar.
Yeah, Greg Stanton. He's been there for several terms, and many of my opponents they won the primary and went against him, and they lose because they don't have a message. They don't have any passion. Me, I'm a black guy with a message. So I'm going to automatically get a lot of Democrats to come and listen to me, right? I got a message. I'm going to talk about the kitchen table issues, making life affordable again. Greg Stanton went out there and signed bills that made your life tougher. When you go to the gas pump, thank Greg Stanton. When you go to the grocery store and you can't afford chicken and beef, thank Greg Stanton.
Man, it's expensive.
But Pastor Jerone Davison is going to get in there, and I'm going to lessen the bills. I'm going to roll back all of this stuff, all these stipulations. We're going to pump oil. We're going to drill. We're going to get coal. And we're going to use modern technology like nuclear energy that's going to make your life cheap again. And that's what's going to make life affordable and stop all this stupid spending. I'm not going to send a dime to Ukraine. Ukraine have not even shown us where this money's going.
That's insane, man.
It's silly.
They're just getting rich.
Yeah, they are. And that's the politicians.
As a matter of fact, I even think they're keeping some money and giving Putin some money.
Yeah. Well, they can't keep it right there, but they have to send it over there to launder it.
Yeah.
And then he sends it back.
Yeah. It's all a scam. They're just scamming the U.S. They're scamming the U.S.
What we have right now in the White House is modern day robbery. First, they stole the election from an honest man named Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Donald Trump didn't even receive a salary.
Yeah.
It's $400,000. He didn't want it. He gave it to Veterans Affairs.
Yeah. Man, they put him through the ringer and then almost killed him.
And here's what I want to say prophetically. There was a man in the Bible. He was a unique man. He was the most unique man that we hardly ever hear about. His name is Methuselah. He lived to be 969 years old. But his life was very significant. I mean, very significant. Because his name means, it shall come at his death. What shall come at his death? The flood. God allowed this man to live that long because he was being merciful with mankind and giving them a chance to repent. But at the death of Methuselah, that's when the flood came. And here's what the Satan and these satanic Democrats know, and these globalists. Once Donald Trump is out of the way, there goes the world. If we can get this one man, this man who's very significant, out of the way, then we can take America, and now we can take over the rest of the world. Yeah. Nobody's there to stop us. And we have to, as Christians and believers, pray for President Donald Trump. Don't allow these satanic people to keep putting their mouth and lies on his brother. Pray for him, and then pray for me and help me get into office so that I can get there and protect President Donald Trump. What do I mean protect him? I'm going to protect him from these frivolous investigations. His 4 years in office, they impeached him. They investigated him with mule-faced Mueller. Mule-faced Mueller came in with the FBI to investigate the Russia stuff, and they knew from day one that this stuff was bought and paid for by Hillary Clinton.
Yep.
Hillary Clinton. This stuff was her.
Yeah.
And then you got Funky Fingers Fauci, who came in with this COVID stuff. He prophesied it, or he said that it was going to happen. He said Trump is getting ready to face a pandemic. Mm-hmm. He said that as soon as he got elected. And then they roll in COVID. He needs to be investigated. That man needs to be in jail. Yeah. And so help me get to Congress. I'm going to fight for freedom. I'm fighting for our freedom of speech. I'm fighting for our Second Amendment. And I'm fighting for an affordable life so that when our children are ready to leave the home and leave college, they're ready to purchase a home, not rent.
Oh, everything's so expensive right now.
It's crazy.
It's not even funny.
Yeah.
A normal young adult can't afford a home. You know, it's I just bought like a small rental.
Yeah.
And the mortgage is like $2,600. That's not including insurance.
That's bananas.
I'll be paying $2,800. So someone has to pay me a minimum of $2,800 to rent my house.
Right.
That's a lot of money.
That's crazy. That's way too much, man.
For a small little house.
And I'm gonna tell you two other reasons why the housing market is that high. Is BlackRock and China.
BlackRock's buying it all up.
BlackRock is buying it all.
Yeah.
And I believe in free capitalism. I believe in capitalism. It's a wonderful thing. But for national security purposes,
China should not be here. We could never go to China and buy anything.
That's what I'm talking about.
There's no way they.
Well, see, the only reason they're doing what they did, and they made a lot of moves, brother.
Of course.
They're purchasing property next to our military bases.
All over the country.
And so that's a national security
What do you
threat.
mean? They're purchasing property not only in our country, next door to our country, all around our country.
Right.
It's insane.
When that balloon traversed over the United States, they was looking at their property next to the military bases.
Yeah.
And most of our military bases where we hold our military secrets. So they was probably getting some kind of secret out of that. But because they got Joe Biden wrapped around their thumb and they got dirt on his son, this is what happens. This is what happens when you have compromised politicians in Washington. Powerful people. Joe Biden's a dummy, and he doesn't have his mind, but he's a powerful man, and he holds a powerful seat.
Yeah, he's been around for a long time. He's just old and
old and racist. He's one of the most racist men around.
They're saying he's got Parkinson's probably, or some signs of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty beat up.
But anybody who tells you that they want Joe Biden to be the president over Donald Trump, they hate you and they hate this country.
You know what? It's crazy is like you're talking about faith, religion, politics, and I get in trouble when I say this from like people who are close to me, and I'm like, they coincide, just like you're saying, and it's hard. I'm gonna get backlash on this. And I tell people, how can you be a Christian and still vote and believe in democratic views?
That's absolutely right.
I've said it like lots of times, and I've gotten backlash, and I will get backlash to whoever's listening.
Yeah.
But there's no way you can be both. There's no way.
No way.
You can do both.
Because listen, if you're going to kill the babies, how many biblical people who did this, right? Pharaoh did it. Was he a villain or was he a good character?
Yeah, he wasn't a good character.
Herod did it when the time of Jesus, around the time of his birth. How did he know that? By demonic power.
Yeah.
And they wanted to kill babies at that time. When the king's babies were born, they had a midwife that wanted to kill the babies. It was a demonic thing. Jezebel, same thing. So the killing of the babies, the bending of the gender, all of this stuff is the spirit of the Antichrist. Mm-hmm. Daniel said that the Antichrist would be an effeminate man who had no desire for a woman. So the Antichrist is operating in the Democrat Party, and you as a Christian, you think you're going to get to heaven? I don't believe they'll get to heaven voting that way, because when the Apostle Paul held the coat of the first martyr of the church, Stephen, he held their coats, but he was just as guilty. Why? Because he held the coats of the murderers.
Yeah.
And when you as a Christian write that vote down for the Antichrist agenda, you're going to have to answer to God. God's going to say, you voted for the Antichrist. You voted for the killing of the babies. You voted for the abomination of man with man, knowing that how I feel about that. And you still voted for it anyway. Yeah. How you think you expect to get into heaven with this? Yeah. Depart from me, I never knew you. Because they think some of these Christians, they think that they can separate their politics from their relationship with God. And this is why a lot of them are fornicating and having sex outside of marriage. They think that they can separate their physical body from their relationship with God. Well, God says, listen, everything about you is mine. Your thoughts, your dreams, your ambitions, your physical body. As a matter of fact, when you go to the bathroom, I'm still the Lord over that. Yeah. So when Jesus Christ was born, he was the lamb that came from God. He was the sacrifice that was completely consumed. Every part of his body, his internals, his eyes, his horns, all of it was given over to the energy of God. He completely gave himself to God. And that's what we should do as Christians. So every part of our life, political, physical, spiritual, emotional, should be given over to the Lord as a living sacrifice. One of the things I do every morning, Romans 12:1. I present my body to you as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto you, which is my reasonable service. That's the first thing I do when my feet hit the floor in the morning.
Romans 12:1.
Romans 12:1.
Yeah. What's Romans 12:2?
What does it say?
Do not be conformed.
That you make, and be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Yes.
Yeah, not the renewing of your body.
That's right. Renewing of your mind. The word renews the mind.
Yeah. It's so good.
And be not conformed to this world.
So I'm excited for what's happening, what you're doing. You know, I'll be voting for you.
Thank you.
I got to pay attention to it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I'll support you.
Thank you, brother.
You know, and we'll just keep fighting the good fight. You know?
We're gonna fight, and we're gonna get President Donald Trump in there, and we're gonna save our communities, and we're gonna love our families, and we're gonna love each other, and eventually, America's gonna get to the place where we're gonna not say Latinos for Trump or blacks for Trump. We're just gonna be Americans. You know, that's what I want to see one of these days, man.
Here's what's
we
crazy.
Just have to get rid of the Democrats.
What's crazy is like when you see a flag, you instantly know it's a Republican. That's sad.
That is sad, because when I'm knocking on doors, when I see a flag,
you know,
I say, thank God.
You know what they're about. Yeah, yes. It's sad because the American pride is gone.
Yes,
and because it was stripped away.
Yes, by lying Democrats.
Yeah, it was taken out of the schools.
Yes,
it was taken out of the church. It's taken out of everywhere, right? So let's just keep fighting the fight, man.
Amen.
And I'm glad you're doing what you're doing. You know, you're about the minorities.
Yes.
And not only the minorities, you're about all colors.
That's right.
You know, but you are a minority.
Yeah.
And so I think if you're, you got a different outlook on it.
That's right.
You know, because you can say, well, the Republicans are goofy white dudes or trailer trash white dudes or whatever. I don't know, man. Republicans are looking different more and more. All kinds of colors.
Yes.
All kinds of, races and stuff like that. And it's about a belief in America.
Yes.
And if you believe that we're still the greatest country in the world, and if you want the freedoms that we've been known to have, right?
Yes.
And the responsibilities that America has had as a superpower, we need that responsibility.
Absolutely.
We have to be the police.
Yeah.
We don't have to be in every war.
We shouldn't.
You know?
We shouldn't.
But people need to be afraid.
Well, hey, listen. When God pronounces peace on us, one of the things he pronounces peace on, when he says shalom, shalom, it is, I give you power. And his peace makes you big. So when you get so big, your enemy look at you and say, it's not worth it. You know? So yeah, America has to be big. America has to have power.
Yeah, we have to. We have to. So we'll be praying for that. I'll be praying for what you're doing, man. And I appreciate you coming on the show.
Man, I love it, man. Just have me back, man. I'd love to come back and chop it up again. Everybody go to my website. It's Jerone for Congress, Jerone, and the word FOR, JeroneForCongress.com. Go to my Twitter account is Jerone the number 4 Congress, Jerone the number 4 Congress. Come on in and chop it up with me and encourage Arizona to vote Jerone Davison for Congress. I promise you, I will not let you down. You will be blessed when Jerone Davison is in Congress.
There it is. Everybody, thank you for joining us. Be blessed.
I'm Jerone Davison, and I approve this podcast.